All right. Mic check, mic check. Good afternoon, Emperador Maximiliano. Going live. I was recording a video for you guys. I thought, there might be questions, there might be things going on. Why don't I just go live instead and do a little trade review? I'm going to go through some of the strategies that I've done in these previous videos. I'm also going to look at how I kind of set up my day, set up my bias, put those data probabilities in my direction. And I'm really going to go over this tweet right here that I put out just the other day. This is from Tuesday. That's the day that I'm going to be looking at for the example here. And I'm going to let a few more people track in here. Juan, Pete the Cat, Chaser, I see you guys popping in. I appreciate y'all coming in for the stream. I was like, look, I could record a video. I started to record it, and then I was like, you know what? I'm more of a live. I'm more of a let's talk live. Let's go through things live. And of course, if I see any questions, comments, anything like that, I can address those as we go. So, all right, I'm gonna just kind of introduce this a little bit first while people trickle in here. Let me go ahead and get a link out to everyone. Let me copy this. Let me get this sent out right here. How's everyone doing? Are y'all enjoying the market being closed? I caught some nice futures trades this morning, to be 100% honest, with the pre-inauguration. There was a couple nice little drops. Cut the short side a couple times. Right, got that posted out. Awesome. All right, let's jump into it a little bit here. If you have any questions, need me to stop, slow down, repeat anything, shoot me a chat. I've got it pulled up right here on the side of my screen so I can see all the chats that come through here. But I posted this on Tuesday. This is Central Time, so it would have been 12:30 market time, just so y'all can see when. I posted this right here on this candle. I said, I'm not looking for any more shorts today. My thesis is we come back towards break even and close flat on the day. So whenever I posted that, obviously the chart looks terrible. The chart looks like, we're moving up. The chart looks like we were just reversing completely. We had PPI data this morning. That's this massive candle here. But then we're coming down. We're breaking orb low. We broke pre-market low, and we're continuing lower. And you just see the trend is down. The trend is not good. If I go over here, let's see. I'm going to hit play on this and let it go through a little bit. Let's jump forward. So this is from the beginning of the day. Let's get closer to, let's see, if I pause right here, let's see, let me jump through these bars. And let me get to 12:30. Is that 12:30? There we go, right there. So here's the same spot. Now you look, our EMAs, 9 EMA, 12 EMA, they're down. You can see we're rejecting the 9 the entire time. We just rejected it again. Why did I post this right here? Not looking for any more shorts. It wasn't, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't have any type of secret or anything. What I have is a data-based approach. So when I posted that right here, if I hit play on this, watch what happens next. Now the timing worked out well for me because I used a few layers of confluence, some levels I had and stuff. But why did we come up and come right back up here? And why did I bet on this? Why did I take a long right here for this trade? I exited right here. And then you're going to see, just for those that don't remember, last Tuesday, this massive right there. Boom, boom, boom. New low of day. I took another long down here. Once this spaced out right here, I took another long. And I was aiming for right back up here. And if anyone knows why, go ahead and give out a spoiler in the chat if you know why. But I'm going to go through it. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to back up a little bit here. We're just going to look at the entire day. So we're coming into the day. and I want to set up my day. So how am I using data from Edgeful to figure out what bias I should have? How should I create a strong thesis of how the day may play out, and then look for the best opportunities? So in the morning, we have, let me put on previous day's range. Let me turn off the IB, and let's just look at this. So we opened up right here. Let me draw a line. This is our opening price right there. And I've got all kinds of stuff going on here, so let's just turn off a couple of things. But opening price was right here. I was looking to short, so one, we did gap up. As far as futures go, we gapped up, we filled that gap, but we gapped up and we continued higher after consolidation and a very big move higher. We also had the data print in the morning, but we were hitting R1. I had some confluence with some levels to the left of this. If I go back to the left, I had some confluence here, some previous highs and stuff right in this area. But either way, when this opened up, and here's QQQ again, when this day opened up, I was looking for downside in the morning, and that comes from two things. So first, Chaser has NFP on here. NFP is also another piece to look at here. Definitely something to look at separately. But as far as just the bias, the strategy as far as directional goes. So let's take a look at something here. So first off, we opened up above the previous day high, which we call that an outside day, in this case a bullish outside day. We also had a gap fill there. But if you've watched any of my previous videos, so right here, outside day strategy, I did a whole video over this. When you have a bullish or bearish outside day, there's a nice data point that you can look at and see what your probabilities are that we come back and touch that. So that was a piece of this. And then previous day range was the other piece of this. So I've done two separate videos. So what I'm doing in this stream is kind of connecting what I've shown you in previous videos and how I'm applying it as the day is developing, right? So first things first, we're in the morning. We are above previous day high, and we have a gap, right? So this yellow, this indicator right here where you see the blue coming down and you see this yellow line, that is the gap fill indicator. So if I turn off, I can flash it right here, gap fill indicator. And then the previous day's range. So previous day's high was right here, which is right at the close. And then this is where that candle closed the previous day, right there. And you can see that puts this nice line on the next day. So Edgeful has those included. I use them all day, every day. This is a chart setup. You see I've got 4 Edgeful indicators on this chart setup that I have saved. And then on this other one, I have 2 from Edgeful on my main futures chart setup. So I just flip back and forth between these tabs. But anyways, we have right here, we have our open, and I was short biased because of the data. Now, these data points weren't super strong, but they were strong enough and in confluence with each other. So first we have the gap fill data report. So I've already pulled this up. If you're looking at the gap in the morning and you measure from where that gap is to where we open, about 0.62, 0.63, I'm not super excited about trading that gap, but it still is more times than not. It's 58 versus 42, so a little bit better than half the time that gap is going to fill. So a little bit of confluence there, but not a ton just yet. But I'm kind of thinking about that. And then we also have the outside days report. On the outside days report, we have this right here, and let me show you what it looks like. So when price opens above the previous day high, the idea here is to come back and at least touch that, reverse back down and touch it. So bullish outside day, we're opening up above the previous. 59% of the time, we're coming back down to touch that. So that is with this right here. So this previous day high, we open up above it, we should come back and touch it. That's the entire idea here, and that's about 60% of the time. So I have two data points that are better than half the time, better than 50%. They're both close to 60% that we are going to come down and do that. So I'm already in the morning. I'm kind of looking on the short side here. And then as we do come down and fill the gap, you'll notice, and I can put this, let me just throw this on here. So before I go too far, SPY also had these exact same setups, and SPY also had the a little bit stronger data that we were actually going to come fill the gap and that we were going to touch previous day high. So just to throw that confluence in here, SPY had the same setup and the same confluence that this was going to happen. So just throw that out there. What's up, Neon? Appreciate you. Q, I see you as well. Appreciate the nice words there in the chat. Appreciate everyone that's tuning in here. And once this is done, if you missed the beginning or if you want to watch it back, it will be on my YouTube channel. Anytime you want to go back and rewatch this, just go to the live section and look for this title. Anyways, so in the morning, I'm looking for this to happen. Now, we have a little gap here from the data. We're looking to see, is the data going to come back? We're going to come back down now that we, couldn't hold this. We've come all the way back down. We've filled the gap. We've also broken pre-market low. And as we break that, you see we back test and we create this little bear flag here. We continue lower. Now, this is where it does get very, very interesting, because when we got to right here, this is 12:30 market time. Once again, I am in Central Time, so 11:30 my time. I'm not looking for any more shorts today. My thesis is we come back towards break even and close flat on the day. Why did I say that? Because of a very, very strong data point that I use every single day when it sets up, which is very often. Previous day's range. Look how strong this is. 79% of the time, so 8 out of 10 times. We'll call it 8 out of 10 times. When you break the previous day's high, you're going to close that day green. So let's take a look at that. Remember, this gap fill indicator right here, this is the previous day's close. So when we are below this, we know that QQQ is red. And if we close above this, we know that QQQ is closing green. So because of this statistic right here, 79% of the time we're going to have a green day, I'm automatically looking at this going, okay, I should not be, after we get below this line, maybe it back tests, rejects, I need to get out of shorts. So once this broke, I'm getting out of shorts. And if I look back at like some of the previous day stuff, you see right in here, I've got kind of an area of interest right here that maybe I want to exit at, right in here, even maybe this afternoon low, maybe this mid-morning low, which is kind of an SR flip. Somewhere even here, previous day, this is probably, let's see, orb high was like right in here. But you can see several of these things, possible levels of areas I'd be interested in, right? So if I'm in shorts in the morning, as this plays out, because we did break orb to the bottom side, we broke lower orb, we broke the lower IB, which I'll get to here in a little bit as well. But when that broke out, or when that broke down, and backtest rejected, pre-market low right here, rejection, continuation. Now I'm getting out of the way because I'm looking at this going, okay, we are red on the day, but data's telling me we should be closing green. 8 out of 10 times, 79% of the time, we should be closing green. And I've even shown you in that previous video, when we have a red day, the red days, when we've broken a previous day high, when we have a red day, we have a red day by a very minimal amount. So even when this 21% or 2 out of 10, even when that does happen, it's very slightly red. So I can still have the directional bias that when we're anywhere down here below this break-even line, that we're going to come back towards it at some point, and we're going to close in this area. So for me, I have high confidence that, somewhere in here we're going to find a bottom, and at some point in the day, by the afternoon, we're going to reverse out of this, and we're going to reverse back up and close up in this area, because 6 months worth of data, if I go back further, I can go back further. 6 months worth of data tells me that we only closed red 14 out of 68 of the times it's happened, and 54 of those 68 were closing green. That is a strong statistic that I want in my favor. I want to trade in that direction, right? I want to go that way. So when I'm looking at this setup, I'm going, okay, I'm done with shorting. Let's look to get long. And sure enough, I start to get long down here because I've got some levels. I've got some areas that I'm interested in, and maybe even some support a little bit lower. I was like, okay, I can go ahead and take my long here, define my risk down lower, and I'm looking for this. And sure enough, right after I tweet this at 11:30, it just happened to play out very nicely. We took one last dip, and then we went on a ripper straight back to where we were. So we get back to green. So when we get back to this area, so like in this trade, I'm long from here. I'm targeting this area right here, previous day's high. I'm targeting turning green on the day, and then what would also be orb or IB, which is right here. So by the time we hit these targets, that's where I am. If you want to see what it looked like on futures, it's the same thing over here. Let me hit play on this one. Watch this play out. So I got long right in this 800 area. We also have a whole number, a psychological level, possible support. So I got long right in this area. And as you see, we get to the pivot point. Probably took some trims there on this day, 900. And then look, we come all the way back. So I'm long here. I'm looking for this pivot point for a trim. I'm looking for either here or orb low for a trim. Maybe this equal high here. So anywhere in this area, 950 possibly. But really, I'm looking for this orb low. And that's also, this area is about where we turn green. If we go over to QQQ, you see that candle structure right there is this candle structure. So right here is basically where we went back green on the day. That is my main target for this long. And then after we get there, I can hold some runners, but I'm not shooting for this. I'm not shooting for a full reversal. And we'll hit that in just a second. But I am looking at right there, we hit 21K. And you notice we kind of rejected there. So 21K. I have it marked here on my chart. Also, if I turn on VWAP, you'll notice we got back to VWAP. This, to me, was a good spot to get down to runners only and then move a trailing stop up here in this area somewhere. Okay? Same thing over here. If you're on QQQ, I trade NQ, but I trade NQ based on QQQ chart pretty much all day, every day. They're interchangeable, right? They're moving one with another. So as this played out, we saw, you know, over on futures, we took profit right here at 21K, which was right at this 507 area. And then it chops, and then if anybody remembers, like I was showing earlier, this thing's going to completely come unglued, make a new low of day, and I actually am going to get long again because the thesis hasn't changed. The data hasn't changed. We should still be closing up here. So even though this crazy move happened, maybe we get a rubber band snapback because we're overextended now. When you move this fast, you know, this quickly to one direction, you usually get some kind of rubber band snapback. But I'm taking the long again because, once again, I still think we're going to close near this area right here. And if I hit play, we'll bounce it out, and boom. So we close the day right here, which if I measure this out, so remember what I was just saying to you, when we do close red, which we closed red this day, but let's see, how much did we close red by? 0.09, less than 1/10%, we closed red, 48 cents on QQQ. So down here, I can be confident, and if the data doesn't change, right? Both times we were down here, the data was still the same. Now, this may have been a little bit scary, but I didn't really see any news that caused this. It was just, there wasn't any like headlines or tape bombs or anything. That's this day. I was like, what's going on? Anyways, I stuck with the data and said, hey, 8 out of 10 times this trade's going to work out. If I can take that trade 10 times and 8 times it works, even if you have basic risk management, you should be able to handle 2 losses, and your 8 wins will way more than outperform that, right? You know, 8 out of 10 is a great winning percentage. I think most people would probably be happy with more of a 40 or 50% winning percentage. I mean, it's all about your risk management, right? Keeping your losses small. But trading with the data definitely gets you going in the right direction. And this is such a powerful statistic that I'm going to try this every single time. In the morning, back here, if I see in the morning, this is previous day's high, we've already broke it. Before my day even starts, I'm not expecting to close anywhere down here. Anywhere in this area down here, I'm not expecting to close anywhere down here. I'm expecting to close here or higher. And if we don't, if we are in the few times that it doesn't happen, we're going to close really close to it. I showed some examples in this video the other day. If you look at this video right here, trading with a data bias, that I showed 2 examples, I think, of days that did not close green, they closed red, or vice versa, and they were by marginal percentages. So that covers most of what I'm looking at here. But as the day's going on, so just let's do a quick stop and review here. We open the day, and I know that we have previous day high from an outside bullish day that we should come back and test. And I know we have a gap fill that has better than not odds that we come fill this gap. So if I'm shorting off of something with confluence up here, that's probably, I'm going to be trimming all the way into this area. And if the trend continues, I'll hold the runners. But once we get down away from this and we break down like a second time, I'm not looking to be short any longer because of this right here. Once again, right here, because of this. Now, another thing to consider here, and let me turn off a couple things here. Another strong report. So let's say you do get long down here. Let's say you're right here. You get long. What are your targets? Well, one, we know this should be our target for sure. This should be our main target. We should be taking a lot of profit here. But how far should I hold runners? And am I going to let those runners come back against me? Am I going to deal with this and then come back to here? No. So another piece of data that I go through every single day is the initial balance. That's this indicator right here, IB, initial balance. This is the first hour of the market. This one has very strong statistics as well. So if I go to that report, every single day I check this as the day's playing out. Once we get this first hour out of the way, so 9:30 market time to 10:30 market time, once we get that first hour, there's two things I immediately know. I immediately know that it's not common that we're going to have no breaks. So this right here, no breaks, 2 out of 124 days. So in the morning, if I go back to 10:30, right in this area, we just jump forward a bar right there. Okay, so we're right here. I know we're going to break this side or this side. I don't know which one, but because of the gap fill and because, there's just a gap in general right here because of the previous day's high and the gap fill, which I can turn on. We haven't touched that yet. We haven't filled this gap yet. So you see what it looks like before it fills. It's not yellow yet. So I'm thinking, okay, I have two pieces of confluence that we should probably touch here. Plus, we're going to break this IB to one side or the other. But the bigger thing is once we do come through and break this IB, so right there, we broke to the downside. The moment we break, let me turn off these other two indicators just to make this clear. The moment we break the IB high or IB low, the rest of my day is strongly determined whether it's directional or at least where it can go as far as targets. So right here, this double break is a strong statistic. 17% of the time, you see this little wedge right here? 17% of the time, we break both sides. That means if we would break this and then we would come back and break this. That only happens 17% of the time. Less than 2 out of 10 do we come back and break the high of the first hour after we've broken the low. So how does that fit into this scenario here? Okay, so I had data that told me I should stop looking for shorts and I should start looking for longs down here, right? And we get long. Now, as we come back up, and I want to extract the most amount of profit as possible, right? I'm trying to get my entire piece of the pie out of the trade with high probability. So I want to make sure that I'm locking in as much profit as possible and capturing the move, but I want to have reasonable targets that have a high probability of playing out. Now, I just told you guys, there's only a 17% chance. Gotta love when that reloads. You only have a 17% chance that you're going to come to here. Only 17% chance. So when I'm long from down in this area, anywhere down in this area, even if you waited for this like lower high, even if you got long in this area, this consolidation, you see these bottom wicks getting eaten up a little bit, and you're kind of hanging out. You see these candle tops here, and then now you're hanging out above that. Even if you got long in this area, you're not looking for this move. If anything, maybe you look for the midpoint of the IB. Maybe you find the middle of the IB, which little free secret here. Maybe not a secret, but something that's coming soon. We have the midpoint of of the IB or the orb, either one, the midpoint is an area of interest. It's something I've tweeted about in the past, something that I've had Edgeful add to their indicator. So if you look at this right here, let me turn off a few of these other things. My kids just got home from school, so I do apologize if you hear shouting in the background. But anyway, here's a midpoint that I had them add. They're actually going to add with data how often we retrace to like the 25% of the orb once we reclaim back into it, how often we reclaim to the midpoint, which I'm a big fan of, or back here. So my ultimate target probably would have been the midpoint of this orb. Now, we weren't able to get there, but I did have a better target here with this 21K psychological level, as well as VWAP right in that area. Now, you could hold some runners, maybe a small amount of your position, looking for up here, but you're not looking for here because this is only 17% of the time. So this is what happens. Let's say this right here is your trailing stop, right? You're long from down here, you're trailing it up, and you're like, okay, well, I'm gonna leave my stop down here below the orb, maybe even give it a little bit of room. Maybe you come down to like right in here. That way you're below this, you're below that, and you're like, okay, I want to get this move, so I'm just going to keep trailing out my stop. No, I'm tightening up my stop because I've already captured the move that I wanted. We're back green on the day. That's all I cared about. I'm not looking for a V-shaped reversal, but the 17%, like I'm not. That's an unreasonable target. This is where my target was. Couple runners, only small size. Maybe you get to the midpoint. That's the way I approach it. Anything else, it's tough. And so like, even if I measure this out, so like if I measure out my orb right here, and I can take this and put it there, let me make sure that it landed in the right spot. Pretty close. Let me bump it up just a bit. There we go. And then let me draw out, like if I go to, you math brain people will understand this. If I take half of the half, that's going to be the 25%. So if I go right here and draw a line, and if you notice, we reclaim our way back into right at, look at that, 25%. That's the 25% mark back into the orb. We're going to have data on that very, very soon. Oh, what's up, Bob? Jason, I see y'all in the comments over there. John, I do live trading Wednesday and Friday over on Edgeful and Wolf channels. We have live trading, so definitely check that out. I'll be live this Wednesday and Friday, both for live trading. But anyways, that was a little bonus tidbit there. So let's recap and think about this for a little bit. So we came into the day. I know that I have gap fill. Let me just take these lines back off now that we've seen that example. We know that we have gap fill on the table. We know that we have previous day's high on the table. So any shorts up here with confluence, we like to this area. Runners, we stay in it as long as it rejects. But as we do this, we know we're going to close up here because we're looking at that previous day's range. This report right here, previous day's range on edgeful.com. Previous day's range, you can have this for any ticker, but look, 79% of the time, it's going to come back and close green, or we're gonna have a green close. So I don't want to stay short. I want to get out of shorts. High reversal risk, and we saw that high reversal risk. This happened, and look, we came back, and we still, boom. And even if you held, like, look at this, even what's this, 5-10 minutes after the close, look where we're at. So even though it's still closed here, look, I mean, immediately after. And look, let's play it out on the futures too. If you look at the futures, look where we get back to. So like, even here, I mean, that's two opportunities with, you're down here towards the lows. Maybe you have support. Obviously, actually, if I turn on my pivot points too, look where this low came off of. This was, remember we talked about R1 in the morning? Look, we had S1. We had S1 right there. And so you have that. I had some fib levels of believe as well that we, I think we had a fib level at like 80, 780 or 790 somewhere in here. I want to say it was right here at 790, I think. So right in this area, I believe we had a fib level. And that's part of what we bounced off here. But either way, if you look at this, if you got long anywhere down here, you caught 175 points. Sorry if y'all heard that scream. And then right here, even if you held it right to close, 166 points or so if you get on this higher low right here. And you're not going to catch every point of that, but the point here is to trade in the right direction. Plus, I could get in a long here and give it some space, knowing that the data is strong that we're coming up here. So even if I got long here, if I got long a little bit early, so if I took a starter here, maybe added here a little bit, this one was probably a little scary. But either I stop out and get back in on this, or I just give it some room. I go in slow. I don't just full port into a position here. I don't take a full position as we're in a downtrend, but I start to look to get long. Maybe I take a little placeholder, and maybe I give it room to down here, but I know I can give it a little bit more room with the drawdown, but I can also let it come back up. Or I know I can give it the room because the data is telling me it should come back up, right? So that's kind of the thought process behind this. All right, let's check out some questions here. Options Grower, good to see you in the chat. Mayor Guy, do you figure after the break that the 25% orb reclaim is significant, like above 50%? So let me tell you this. I talked to Andre the other day. They are building out a report on that right now. So there should be a report coming very soon and an indicator, an update to the indicator that's going to mark those levels, the 25%, the 50%, 75%. So as we come back in to the orb, let me get the orb back on here. So sorry, Thomas the Train just came under my desk or my door over here. All right, sorry guys, got a little distracted there. So we are going to have data, Mayor Guy. We're going to have data on this very soon. A full report built out that's going to look at the retrace. So if let me just delete some of this stuff so we can look at it. So this right here we know is the 50%. Because that's the indicator's already built like that. I requested that actually of all people. And if I mark the 25%, and then I can do the same thing for the 75% right here. Right there. So this is 25%, this is 50%, this is 75%. So we broke here. It's going to measure how many times we come back to 25%, how many times we come back to 50, and how many times we come back to 75, and the probabilities. So it's kind of like the orb by levels, if you've ever seen that indicator, where if we move outside of the orb, so as we're moving down or up, it will look at, do we move a half a standard deviation, one full one, 1.5, etc. to either side of the orb. So this right here, it's going to say, okay, once you've broken and you start to reclaim, how far do you come back? Now look how accurate this turned out to be. This 75 or this 25% range, look at exactly where it rejected. And this just happens to be a great example. But we've actually looked at this. Me and Andre talked about it, and then I've looked at it on a few other days. I love to look for this midpoint of the orb. And actually, let's see if I just look around. Look at this day right here. This day right here, look how many times we chopped around this midpoint of the orb right there. On this day, we came back, look at all this consolidation at the midpoint of the orb and then underneath it, and then look where we came back to that evening. So I honestly think that midpoint of the orb is very important, and it's going to be really interesting because now we're going to have the data to go with it. You look at this right here, broke the upper side, the lower side, came back, paused at the middle, supported on the midpoint of the orb right here. You see that? And then we ended up breaking out for that day. So I really like that midpoint of the orb, and to finally get some statistics on it's going to be fantastic. I forgot to reverse this out. Were there any other questions? Does anybody have any questions? Anything they want me to look at here in the back half of this stream? It's in case you guys didn't, maybe you joined late. So when I start a day out, I'm looking for, like in this scenario, I immediately am looking at what happened from the previous day that I can build a strategy around. So I'm going to build a strategy around a gap fill, a bullish outside day that should come back and touch the previous day high. So that's the first two things that I'm looking at here. I can look at the orb or IB and look at my statistics once we break one side or the other. But also, if we've broken the previous day range to either direction, we have a strong probability of closing the day in that same direction. So we broke the previous day high, means we have a high probability of closing green. So because of that, I'm not going to continue to short the pop anymore because we should come back to here, and it happened twice. Hey Imp, can you list the indicators? Are they gap fill, EMAs, pivot points, and orb? Yes. Let me talk about each one of these indicators real fast. So the first one in here, let's get off of this replay thing. Get me out of here. Get me out of here. All right. So here, let me do this right here. Okay. So one of the first, here's my staple indicators that I use. They are all part of Edgeful. They're all included with Edgeful. If you have Edgeful, you type in your username, give it to Edgeful within Edgeful, type in your TradingView username, and you'll get the invite only to all these scripts. You can see how many, look at this. Look at how many they've added from here all the way up to here. All of these. There's fantastic stuff. Everyone has different styles and ways that they trade. So 100% something out there that you can use. Here's my favorites. Let me go over that. Previous day's range. That's going to mark the previous day's high, the previous day's low. And you can go back multiple days and see this. I mean, look at this right here. We broke the previous day low. We should close red. Look, broke the previous day low. We should close red. Broke the previous day's low. We opened up way below the previous day's low. We should not come back up here and close green. And we got close, but we did not come back up here and close green, which I think was like further up here. This day, previous day high, that's the one we just looked at. This one, previous day high was broken, closed green. Previous day's high was broken. I think we closed red by a little bit. What happened this day? I can't remember what happened that day. But even if there's 1 or 2 days out of 10 that don't follow the stats, I'm good with it. Okay, previous day's range. I use previous week's indicator. I like to know where the previous week's high and lows are. There's data that you can follow. Every one of these indicators has a data report that you can go back to and put into your strategy. So like right here, previous week's range, we've broken that to the downside. I'm not looking for the upside in this last week. The data tells me that we don't do that. We usually do test one of these two sides in the next week. But I'm looking at that and I'm going, okay, this is what's happening. This is where my range is. Also, you look for reclaims. So like right here, we got out of it. And then look, once we reclaimed it here, we finally had a nice move up. We came back down, slightly got underneath it, but couldn't hold underneath it. And I mean, you try, if you look, if I zoom in granularly, you can see, and like you can see right here, look, fighting, getting above it, supporting right on it. Look where these candles are closing, right on the previous week's range. It seems important. I like to take a look at that from time to time. Gap fill is one of my favorites. So gap fill, every single day I look at gap fill in the morning and I see where's our gap, how big is our gap. So immediately when I see a gap, I'm looking at how big that gap is. So let's look at this one, for example. So this is that same day that I've been talking about this entire video. So as soon as I see this gap develop in the morning, I'm going to measure it out and see how big it is. I'm going to go straight to my gap fill report. And I'm going to go to the size, and I want to know by the size, because if I look at this size, 58%, not the greatest odds. If that gap's smaller, good, very strong odds here. Same with gap down. Look at that, very strong odds there. And if the gap's even smaller, very, very, very strong odds. You can combine that, obviously, with anything, with day of the week. So, like, if you're worried, like, what day of the week do we fill gaps the most? Let's see. Right now, it looks like Wednesday. Look, on Friday, when you gap up on Friday, you rarely actually come back and fill that in. That's an interesting stat compared to Tuesday when you do. So you can, like, day by day, you can get really granular with these reports and look at that. All right, so That's my first two favorites, or really that's three I've gone over. But previous day's range, gap fill are my two top favorites. Previous week's range is one, and then I use IB and orb. And so I see there's a question from JT. JT on. I use the 30-minute orb the most. That's the one that I enjoy. That's the one that I've built a lot of strategies around. That's the one that I trade the most. Some people like the 15-minute. I know some people that just do based on the initial push or whatever. I look at the first 30 minutes of the market and see where those ranges are. I use the data based off of that, which there's a report for that. And JT, if you like the 15-minute, or a 5-minute even, if you like that, you can customize the data. So I can customize this to 15-minute and change the data for the 15-minute. And then I can also go to the 30-minute and see the data is a little bit different. So there's a big piece that you can look at as far as what's going on with, I mean, as far as the orb goes. So you can look at the orb. You can also look at what I was just showing you guys a while ago. Oh, not that one. The initial balance, the IB, the first hour. So you'll notice I have the orb right here on this chart. This one, I have the IB on here because I know when that IB breaks, it's such a strong statistic that we're only going to break one side. 80% of the time, we're only breaking one side. So after that first hour, whichever side we break, and look on a different day, like this day right here, we broke the upper orb. Look at it came back down to here, but I'm not expecting this. I know this is a 17% chance. So once you broke this in the morning, you broke the upper side of the orb, the IB, the first hour. Even though it came back down here, I'm probably going to look to get long again because I know that this is not going to probably touch. It's just not a high probability. And if you look, it reversed out. It's funny looking back at examples and seeing how they work out. Now this right here is interesting. This day, we didn't break either side. That was one of 2 days out of the last 6 months that this has actually stayed within an IB. One of 2 days. This day, we broke both sides. That was one of the 17% days. So it can happen, right? But most of the time, you break the IB down. Look where we didn't reverse back to. We broke the IB to the low side. We did not reverse back to the top. That one hit both. This one broke the upside and closed up. But yeah. Anyways, that's the look at IB. So if I'm going through those indicators, order of importance, I love... Oh, I can't forget to mention my pivot points. I love pivot points. Pivot point here, and then your R1, S1, S2, S3. The further you get away to those, the higher chance you have of a reversal happening there. If you look at this R1, we never even touched the pivot point. This is the open here. We never touched that pivot point. We went to R1, and you saw obvious rejections happening in that area. Right here, you got through it and immediately fell back under. Right here, boom, you see the top of these candles. You see that that's an order or an area of interest. So I use the pivot point as one. There is, once again, every one of these indicators has data reports you can put with it if you so choose to. So orb and pivot points stay on my main chart for futures all day. Over on my QQQ chart, or this is the same for SPY. I flip to SPY quite often throughout the day because I'm looking at the same things. I'm looking at gap fill, previous day's range. I'm looking at initial balance a lot and previous week's range. So like if I go to SPY, I'm looking for this. I'm looking at the same things. Let's see. Let me go back to where's that? Here's SPY. Here's SPY on that same day that I've looked at in this entire video. And if you look, gap fill happened. Previous day high is right here. That happened, and then you see. Let me turn on the IB. The IB and the orb were the same because this happened. This low was in the first 30 minutes, and you can see a clear back test of the orb and rejection. And then, once again, we should come close where? We should close above this. So if you look at SPY, here, let me show you guys this. This is bonus stuff at this point. Previous day's range. So the same stuff I went over on QQQ earlier. I mean, you can use these reports on any ticker, by the way. Since I trade futures most of the time, I'm looking at QQQ and I'm looking at SPY. and I'm looking at the futures charts. That's mostly what I'm, I use a lot of Confluence, but still, if you're trading another instrument, you can look at these stats on other instruments as well. If you're trading NVIDIA, if you're trading Microsoft, Meta, it doesn't matter. You can get the report and the data in your favor. But here's SPY on that same day. So if we look at SPY, we came down, we touched the previous day high because we opened up here. We filled the gap. What was the gap on SPY? Let's just see what that size was. 0.5. So a little bit smaller gap on SPY, but 0.5. But anyways, we came down, we broke the previous day high. So we should close above this yellow line, which is break even on the day. This is because this gap fill indicator is based on previous day close. That's how I know this is where we're going to come back to break even. 77%. So SPY has a 77% chance. So when you're down here, you know SPY has a 77% chance that it's going to come close up here. And if you look, it came way up here, came way back down. SPY actually put in a higher low, a little different than the QQQ chart. And SPY did close green. Look, we closed all the way up here. So you could have got long down anywhere under here, honestly, in this area. You know with decent confidence, 77% of the time, you're going to come back up here. So that's where I build my confluence and my directional bias out through the day. So once again, if you've watched any of my previous videos that kind of break down each report, I'm hoping to connect those in this with a trade review and with live examples, and then answer all of you guys' questions. All right, Brett has a question here. Do I look at large order blocks? From time to time, a lot of times I listen to other traders, but there's indicators, out there that probably do order blocks as well. A lot of times you'll see order blocks line up with levels or things that I'm already looking at. So a lot of times I just use that for confluence, if I'm being 100% honest. I like to hear it and know about it, but I'm not like really looking for that. Pete the Cat, do these reports help in swings as well, or just for day trading? I mean, I'm sure there's some application there, right? So if you've broken the previous day high and you expect to close, let's say you're in a swing trade. So let's say this day right here, you thought this was going to be a bottom. You think that we're overcooked, and you swung long QQQ right here on Monday, right? Monday you took Friday calls QQQ, you're long. If you're swing trading on this day, once we broke the previous day high, so once you broke Monday's high, which we did, we opened up above it, I think you could use that as confluence, Pete, to stay long. Like, I feel like, okay, well, I know maybe it's going to eat up, or maybe I can buy the dip a little bit. Maybe I can manage my position. If you got long here and you trimmed out a lot here, maybe you're thinking, okay, maybe I add back in on some dips expecting us to close back in this area. Now, obviously, there's no guarantee for what happens beyond that, but there's a lot of other reports for swing trading too. So check that out for sure, right? Just definitely check out all the reports. Mayor Guy, do you ever trade pre-market starting around 6 a.m. or 7 a.m.? Do I trade? Yes, sometimes. I don't really ever go live at that time. It depends. So like sometimes when data comes out, I don't like to trade a whole lot. I did fade this move a little bit here and covered back in here just because of the move. CPI day, when was that? Wednesday? Oh wait, I'm still on the... Hold on. CPI day, I think I took a short right up in this area, this 300. I had some confluence here. I have a whole lot of stuff hidden over here, by the way. I had a key level. I had something right in here, and I had 245. I know I had a fib level, and I went back just to avoid the confusion. I went back and added it here as an actual line. But I think I had something up in the 300 range, and I knew I had this 244, so I think I took a trade here. But I did trade data then. Usually around like right at the futures open, or like in the overnight sessions, sometime like Globex sessions. Sometimes I'll trade like, and this is gonna make my chart look really busy now, but sometimes I'll trade like right at an open to fade a move. I did this yesterday actually. Let's see, where did we open yesterday? Right here. I took a short right here at the open yesterday just because of what happened here and because of everything that was going on with the Trump coin. And then I really didn't take another trade. Sometimes when I wake up in the morning, I come downstairs, I'll double check and see if there's a trade or a trend I like. I usually don't like to trade pre-market a whole lot unless there's just some really key level. Sometimes, you know, in pre-market trading, like this right here, I took a short on Friday. I remember this right when I went live on Edgeful and Wolf Financial. I took this short because we had just shot up to the upside. SPX 6000 was right here. There was options expiration. I had some context, I guess, so I did take a short here, but I didn't take any of this action, and I really didn't. I don't know. I just don't have much to go off of in that like couple hours pre-market. So hopefully that answers the question there. Double check and make sure I don't have any comments I'm missing anywhere. Oh, Glenn, I see your yeah, I see your tweet now, Glenn. I just checked that. So yeah, all of those indicators are from Edgeful, and they all have data reports behind them. So whether you want the data or not, the data is there behind it. So like pivot points, you know, that's something I just use. Previous day's range. I've started, the more I use those indicators, the more I've found the data to be super helpful. So like when I start leaning on some of those things, I get more and more enthralled with the data and having directional bias and helping me get my targets set. Because, you know, that example I showed on this day of getting long here and watching it rip and knowing I should probably take profit instead of letting it go up there, that, I mean, by being able to take profit in this area and not get stopped out, like maybe I'll have my stop down here, right? Kind of like down here and not getting stopped out. I mean, that would have been, you know, a lot of profit that I missed out on locking in because I was holding for a dream rather than something that was probable. And I see Abe Carranza. Do you use ICT concepts to trade? I don't really. I understand some of them. Some of them I think are renamed of things that have been around for a long time that I've learned. But you do have, like, you know, the fair value gap stuff or imbalances that happen. Let me show you guys one thing. I'm not going to go to a full example of this, but there is, and I was on QQQ pretty much this whole time. All of these are also on futures, by the way. Every one of these is on futures. There's this right here. I've seen this among some of the other Edgeful users and some of the ICT traders. ICT opening retracement. This stat seems to be really popular. I don't know a whole lot about it. I know that basically midnight open at any point during the New York session, or that you're going to retrace back to that midnight open during the New York session, and whatever. So essentially, they're using the midnight open that ICT came up with, or whatever the concept is there. Once again, I don't know this concept, but I do know that they have this on here, and a lot of ICT traders like this, that if you open below that midnight whatever, you're going to come back to it. Like that just is a strong statistic. I've seen this posted out by a lot of the other Edgeful partners, so maybe check that out. But me personally, I'm not a big fan of ICT. Glenn, I see the fist bump there. I'll give it right back to you. Where's my... There's my camera. I just realized I've been on this other camera the entire time. Oh well. I have a separate camera here, and I've been on my laptop camera the whole time. Doesn't matter. I don't think anybody's here looking at me. My beard's just down in the corner. No big deal. All right, but yeah. So the main point of this, I put this tweet out, and did I time it well? Yeah, it timed very well. Obviously, if you look at this candle, what it did next. But the point was, I had a full set of data that gave me gave me the view of which way I need to trade. So don't, how many times have you guys heard, don't trade with bias? Don't trade with bias. Absolutely, in 2025, I'm telling you to trade with bias. Let's throw that concept out. People tell you don't trade with bias because people have emotional bias. People have theories or just thoughts like, oh, this would be cool, or this should play out, or I want this to happen. But there's no data or probability behind it. There's no hard numbers behind it. Let's trade with a bias based on hard numbers, hard facts that we can lean back on. All right. Any more questions? Does anybody have anything else they want? Double checking a couple of places here. Make sure I don't have any other comments. Yeah, if anybody has any comments, questions before I close down here, I will. I'll just, and thanks for the patience, guys. I had a meeting run a little bit long. I was gonna go live right at 3 Eastern for you guys, 2 o'clock my time. Had a meeting go a little bit long. Tough to slide out of a business meeting sometimes, but finally I was like, all right, guys, I've got people waiting on me. I promised them a time, so we're gonna get live. So hopefully you found this very very helpful. And once again, if you have any questions or comments, throw them in right now. I'm happy to take those while I have a little bit of time here. I've got about 10 minutes until my next meeting. So if you've got anything, let's go through it. Does trading with bias then mean trying to predict PA, or are those two different things? Well, having a bias is predicting PA in a way. You know, some people are like, well, we've run too much, we're too high, you know, short bias, we should come back down. Or some people are like, we've broken out, we're just going to keep going up. You know, or they see a reversal and they're just biased. They think, oh, this is going to happen. Or they see a gap. So let's use that as an example. So look at this day right here. I'm just going to put gap fill only on. Look at this day right here. So let me go down to 5 minutes and hit play on this. And watch this right here. So as we open up right here, I'm going to hit pause. All right, so this is our previous day close. This is the gap. So people are going to look at this, and some people will say, oh, I'm looking for that. I'm going to get long and look for that gap to fill. And they're going to have a bias just based on that gap to fill. Just that's all they'll have. They're like, oh, look how far we've come down. So look, we started up here on Monday. The next 2 days we've had down days, and we're opening up a third day down, and people are like, oh, that's 3 days down. We're down 3.7%. Like, I'm just gonna go long. Well, you know, you're long biased, and this day wasn't too friendly to you. Why did that gap not fill? Where's the close of this day? We're almost there. There we go. This is the close. Why did this gap not fill? Somebody had the bias that this gap would fill. Why did it not fill? 0.73%. Let's go to our gap fill. We go back to stocks. Let me go to QQQ. Why did that gap down not fill? Well, the statistics tell me there's only 33% of chance. Only 1 out of 3 times is it going to fill. 2 out of 3 times this gap is not going to fill. I can look at this data first thing in the morning and know that this is not a target for me. Not the first thing in the morning is not a target for me. So that's what I mean with having a bias. A lot of people build a bias on the wrong things, or trying to predict price action, trying to predict reversals. I mean, if you see this and you go, okay, well, that's a reversal, and look, here we're moving up. Oh, we've reclaimed into orb, or we've reclaimed into, let's see, what does the IB look like on this day? Oh, that was way down here. Hold on. I'm going to change the IB settings to a 30-minute orb. All right, so look at this right here. So don't consider this an IB now. Consider this a 30-minute orb, because I changed the settings to the first 30 minutes. You see this is 9:30. This is 10. So right here, Oh, we reclaimed into orb. I'm going to go long and hope this gap fills. All right, you long here. You get a decent move. It comes back down here. Maybe you add back in, or maybe you wait for this and you're like, oh, I'm going to long right here. Look where this candle came down to. It came down to orb low and it held and pushed back up. And maybe you're going to get long right here. Here, what is that? You want to see what that candle looks like? We go to here. So maybe you're like, okay, we've held here. Maybe I want to get long somewhere here. Look, we reclaimed pre-market lows. Maybe I want to get long. Maybe that's my bias. And then I see this next candle. I'm like, okay, well, we held orb low. Let's get long. And then look what happens. Just absolutely wrecked. Absolutely wrecked. Well, one, you already you broke orb to the bottom side. It's not usually the best sign, but this, if you're looking for this to happen, this big reversal to happen just based off of some candles and some price action, you're not paying attention to the data that tells you, hey, we're not going to go up here if we gap down really hard. Maybe you get back to this area, and that's possible, but you're just trying to predict at that point, you know? Mayor Guy says, I know Maple is big on the 10 and 2 time frames. Do you have a favorite combo? 5 and 15. 5 and 15 are my favorites. So I keep, because I live on the 5 minute all day long. That's what I cycle through. That's what I'm looking at the most is 5 minute when it comes to NQ. When it comes to all the charts, so like back here behind me, I have 6 5-minute charts just sitting up here all day. I keep QQQ, SPY, IWM, NVIDIA, Microsoft, and then usually Apple, and I rotate this last one with my watch list of the biggest names around QQQ. That's where I'm most comfortable reading price action day by day is in the 5 minute. I like to go to the 15 minute because you can see things on the 15 minute that you may miss on a different time frame. So like sometimes I see things on a 15 minute where it's like we have a bunch of green candles in a row. Maybe something like that. I don't know. Let's see. I'm trying to think of a quick example of what I would look for on a... I don't know. Sometimes you can see something on a 15 minute that looks so different on the 5 minute. So the 5 minute will fake you out a little bit, but the higher time frame isn't quite there. And then I do like throughout the day, I'll go check an hourly candle, you know, or half hour candle sometimes, or hourly candle. I'll go check those throughout the day. But I mainly live on the 5 with my NQ chart. QQQ and SPY, I check the 15 constantly. So on this setup, I'm going 5 minute, and then I'm going to go check for 15 minute confluence over on QQQ. I'll drop it down to 5 if I need to, but usually 15 minute there, and then all my other ones I just keep it on the 5 minute. That's what I do. All right, I've got 3 minutes or so left of time here. If we've got any more questions, happy to get those to you. Appreciate everyone that's tuned in. I mean, I've got tons of views on this. Appreciate everyone that's come in. I don't know how many of you are on YouTube or how many on, I can't really tell, but I can see all the comments from both. But it looks like we had a decent crowd. I guess a lot of you are missing the market like I am. I did trade a little bit this morning, but I know we've got over 1,200 views on X right now, so I do appreciate everyone that's tuned into this at some point. Any last questions? Going once, going twice. We'll give it another second or two. Abe, no problem. So once again, for those that don't know, maybe they're new to me, I do trade live. It's Edgeful and Wolf Financial. We've got a partnership there where I'm doing a joint stream on both channels. So right now, Wednesdays and Friday mornings, I go live about 15 minutes before the market opens. So around 9:15 Eastern, I go live. I then I kind of look at the same thing I was telling you about. Whenever I'm looking at a day, you know, starting out for a day, what are my scenarios? I go through all of this on my stream twice a week. So Wednesday and Friday right now is the schedule. I go through what I'm setting up and what I'm seeing. I talk through my analysis. I try to call out some live trades. We've had some really good trades on there, actually. Friday we hit that trade right at the open. We hit this trade right here. I was shouting short right here at the open, and we took it all the way back down to here. I basically got a full exit when we hit this trend line down here. Let me just take off some of this stuff here. We got short here, and I got out of it here. I said, yeah, I didn't take the long, but I definitely said I'm not still in the short. I think I held one run or so once it popped up above this box. I was out of here, but I do go through all that. So I do trade live on stream. I do call outs. I do full analysis. I try to tell you everything I'm seeing. If breaking news is coming out, I have a news squawker. I yell that out for everyone. So would appreciate you guys joining. Definitely come check it out. It is on YouTube for Edgeful. It's on YouTube for Wolf Financial. It's on X Broadcast, so right here on X on Twitter. It's on there on the Wolf Financial channel as well as the Edgeful channel. So 4 places that you can watch that stream on Wednesday or Friday mornings. And that's would love to have all you guys tune in. We usually have fun in the comments section. We usually have some other people taking live trades. I remember one of my man Brian, my man Brian was taking a NVIDIA trade that was beautiful, played out. We had someone else jump in the chat and point out something that I hadn't even noticed, but we had a little community effort there. Guy jumped in the chat. Gosh, who was that? I can't remember. Was it ProFast guy or somebody? One of our regulars that's around a lot of my streams. He was in there and he shouted out like a 1 hour candle and an IB thing. We threw that together with some analysis and were able to react appropriately. So that was awesome. And yeah, definitely check out all the live streams. About to run out of time here. Jason, JT, appreciate you guys stopping by. Abe, do I alert trades? Yes. If you look at my timeline, so you go follow me on X, it's EMP Maximiliano, Imp Maximiliano. Follow me on X, and you will find actually an example from today. We weren't live trading. We do have live trading in our voice chat all day. But I actually, in my channel, I try to alert trades if I'm not on a VC somewhere, if I'm on a stream or something, I try to alert trades there. I also try to give some analysis through those trades. Sometimes futures move so fast, it's easier over voice than to type out alerts. Sometimes you just can't type them out. But when I do have a setup, or like today, we weren't live trading, but I still called out a short for everyone that played out very, very nicely this morning. So everybody in our community can see that. We have some other people in there that are fantastic traders as well. There's a link in my bio if you want to check that out. Lord says, what do you think about the 2 minute? I use it a lot. I do jump down every once in a while. I'll jump down to a 1 or 2 minute, maybe a 3 minute, just to kind of see what the candles are doing, how they're forming. But to me, I feel like you can get into a lot of noise. I used to take my entry and exits off a 1 minute chart, but I've kind of gotten away from that. For me, I felt like I was getting shook out too much, or you'd see liquidity grabs. I don't know. It messed with my mentality a little bit. So I pretty much just the 5 minute, 5 minute, 15 minute and higher. I really don't go any lower on those time frames. Options grower, appreciate you always supporting. Appreciate you. You're very, very welcome. Glenn, how much is Edgeful? Does it come with the TradingView Edge? I don't know how much Edgeful is right now. I think it's like $49 a month. But let me say this. So a couple quick things on Edgeful. Thanks for reminding me of this, Glenn, even though you may have done it by accident. All right, Edgeful, right now, first big thing, they've simplified everything. There's not packages or tiers like you see with some of these providers like TradingView or wherever else, where it's like, am I basic, am I intermediate, am I advanced, there's one package that has everything, every data report that they offer, every TradingView indicator, it's all included. You also have the ability to request a report. So if you want a report that is built for you, if you have an idea that you can make an if-then statement, hey, if this happens, then I want to know how often this happens after, you can request a report. I would say probably 60 to 70% of the reports on Edgeful were crowdsourced. They were traders themselves requested them, and then Edgeful built it out for them. So I'll definitely shout that out. They do a fantastic job with that. You can also get calls with Andre, the actual founder and creator, the CEO of Edgeful. He will walk you through how to use reports. He'll show you some examples and stuff like that. So you get those benefits. It's all one package. Part 2 of this. Edgeful is, so I didn't really show this because the stream wasn't about it, but this What's in Play is one of my favorite features. This thing is getting completely revamped, and the entire site essentially is getting revamped. Edgeful 2.0. So they launched just over a year ago, right around a year ago they launched. And they've grown incredibly. They've gotten so many extra reports, all kinds of features on here. They're basically going to take this, and you're going to see Edgeful 2.0 within the next 2 weeks, I was told. 2.0, basically, they're reimagining this whole layout. They're customizing a lot of things. What you see here is going to be organized where you can have different ones. You can have a way better visual and access to a lot of these all at once in one single spot. So a lot of big changes and nice things coming to Edgeful. Obviously, I don't know if they have any type of any like price changing when they do these new features. I have no future knowledge of that. I do know the current price, and I know they've always grandfathered you in. If you've been in, you're grandfathered in at your price point. So I love that. They really treat, so this is created by a trader himself for traders. So it seems like Andre, he's a guy that he used to work, in the investment banking world. He built his own reports based off of an Excel sheet. His Excel sheet got so massive, he essentially had to, he said, why don't I just build this out into a full platform? And he did that. And essentially that idea has turned into what Edgeful is, where you can have data and probabilities on your side, statistics on your side all day, every day. So definitely give it a shot. I tell you what, let me drop this in the chat. There's a link right there in the chat if you want to click and go check it out. I don't know if they're still doing a free trial or not. Since I've been in Edgeful, I've been using this thing since like March of last year, and it's really become an integral part of my trading. So like I see what you're saying there, that you'll give it a shot. Seems like I prefer it. Not only do I prefer it, I highly recommend it because I know that it's become an integral part of my trading. So like I know I had strategy and stuff before, but it took me from having a decent strategy and rhythm to capturing more profit, staying away from bad trades. So not only do I feel like I capture more of a move because I set realistic targets, that's one side. On the other side, I feel like I also stay out of bad trades and bad areas. I stay out of trading against bad price action. In the past, before I knew about this previous day's range, that example that I showed you guys, this entire video, which, let me just jump to that again real fast. So this entire example right here, I probably would have continued to short this thing. I probably would have kept shorting all these pops, got stopped out, probably would have tried to short again here, probably would have tried to short again here, may have gotten lucky on one here, but I probably would have been trying to short against this because the trend was down instead of knowing that, hey, 80% of the time we're going to come close green. Options said he just opened an account and gave me like 5 days free. All right, so it sounds like they're still running that 5-day free trial. I did drop that in the, here, let me see if I can drop this in the broadcast chat. Let me see. I don't know if I can do live. Can I do live chat? Oh, here we go. Oh, what's going on? All right, I'm dropping that link. There we go. I dropped that link for the X users as well, so it's over there for you guys on both sides here. It's also, so this video, when I close it out, you'll be able to watch it back at any time on YouTube. You can go back to my feed as well. You can bookmark the post. You can watch it on X as well. Either one. In the description on YouTube, you'll actually see below. I've linked this. I definitely recommend it. Give it a shot. Even if you give it a shot for a month, I mean, what, $50? I think it's worth it. Honestly, I think the value is crazy. These indicators alone that I showed you, you'll pay that much for these indicators alone. And these indicators you're getting, every single one of them is going to have some type of data that you can look at behind it. Like even that pivot points one I talked about. Look right here. I can even pull data on those pivot points that I love to use. If we open up between here and here, what's our probabilities? If we open up way up here, look at our probabilities of reversing back down. They're very small. If we open up way down here, or the probability of coming back up here, very small. You can see the probability for each level and how you're getting further and further away from your probability. So Jeremy liked and subscribed. I appreciate that. Guys, I would appreciate if you will share this post out on X. If you liked what you saw, the only thing I ask from you guys, I appreciate everyone that if you just drop a like, a comment, support me a little bit as I put this stuff out there for you guys. That goes a long way for me. Makes it know that it's worth my time to take out of my day and do this for everyone. So, all right, with that, I do have to jump. I had that meeting that I got to jump into. Content takes precedence, but I do need to get into that meeting with some other people, so I've got to jump over there. I appreciate everyone that stopped by. I will be doing more of these like always, and of course, live trading. Wednesday's the next one. Wednesday morning, 15 minutes before the open on Edgeful or Wolf Financial. Check out all those channels. Appreciate everyone that tuned in. Appreciate all the support. Familiar faces, new faces. Thank you very much for tuning in.